On today's episode of Watch Jaguar Go, in she goes. This thing is getting mated with the Jag again today. What is going on, guys? I am Watch Jaguar Go, and in the last episode we put basically everything back on the Jag engine. We got it all dressed to go back in the car. There's a couple little things left to do, like put the exhaust manifolds on, so I'm going to do that right now. And I'm pretty paranoid at the moment, so I'm going to do one more thing, and that is take my inspection camera and shove it in between the block and the flex plate. I found one bolt in there and I checked over it, but now I'm second guessing myself and I want to check it one more time. So I'm going to slide the camera down in there in front of the flex plate and see if there's anything else that would mean I have to pull the transmission back off. So hopefully I don't. That's a worst case scenario. Unbolting that thing, sliding it back a little bit, and searching behind the flex plate one more time. Also, I'd have to unbolt the torque converter, but no big deal if we have to. I'm just going to visually check it with the camera, and if that looks good, we're good to go. So this will just be a quick search. You can see some of the bolts there. There's a torque converter bolt. There's a bolt into the block. So far, so clear. The passenger exhaust manifold and everything else is on, and I realized that I get to pull the bell housing bolts back out and retorque those ones because that bracket goes on right there. But that is no big deal. It's time to torque down the manifold, and then I'll grab the other manifold and we'll have it back on the engine. A few more seconds and we're ready to stick this thing in the hole. Finally. Floor's cleaned up, the power unit is ready to move. This is the last time we get to see the giant hole where the engine belongs in the Jag. So I think everything's ready. It's gonna take a long time to get this done because I'm gonna just sit here and push the hoses out of the way until everything is ready to roll, and then we should be able to bolt the subframe in. This is a huge install and it is gonna take me a little while, but I think we're just gonna grind through it here and should have it back in, the drive shaft back in, the exhaust back on, transmission, neutral selector. That's all this does, which is pretty cool. It just puts the thing in neutral in emergencies. I think we'll have it all wrapped up here in a minute, and we will be waiting on the supercharger parts, and this thing will be back on the road. So it's time to drag it over. Okay, the easy part's done. I'm halfway in. Unfortunately, I can't lift the table back up. This thing is great, but you got to be able to get your foot on it. I had both my hands on it bouncing, and I couldn't get it to easily come up with me, you know, fighting where the engine's sitting over it, because the table is a little smaller than the engine package, so that checks out. I think I've got everything out of the way. All the hoses are zip tied back. The suspension is kind of falling into place here, and you can see we've got lots of room to work with underneath here. Plenty of clearance all the way around the entire engine, and I'm just going through and checking hoses as I move this thing inch by inch, or half inch by half inch really. And we're basically lined up, all the subframe bolts, all the transmission stuff, and shortly we're going to be ready to start hooking everything up. I just have to finish guiding this thing into place, which is a much longer job when the car is lower to the ground. Well, with the help of the statue, we have the subframe back in. This is very much like a 2-3 man job trying to get all this aligned. The way the shops do it is they screw alignment pins into the chassis, and then like almost everything on this thing requires guide pins, and they're all custom made tools, which are bolts with the head cut off. But unfortunately, we don't have any of those, so we just had to fight it in there with pry bars until we got everything aligned in 3D. So now it's all in, the radiator's back where it belongs, everything's back. We are gonna hit the button, and the entire car should lift up, if everything works right. So here we go. We dropped something, I'm just gonna say it wasn't important. It was a bolt. Yeah, nobody needs bolts.
It was only one. So
just yeah. It wasn't 6. Look at that. The engine is back in. Now I need to get the uprights in and the shocks in. So I'm gonna lower the thing back down one time real quick, throw a jack underneath each side, and we should quickly have those back together. And then it's just buttoning it up, hooking up some hoses, and waiting on the supercharger parts that are on the way tomorrow. So this is really cool. I can put the drive shaft in right now. Basically everything's hooked up. I gotta pull the O2 sensors out. Just a few little things, put the starter in. You guys know what I'm here to do. It's not much, honestly. So like the O2 sensor routing is that simple right there. There's a clip up in here. I got the clip. Thought I did. Plug it in. O2 sensor. Do it again over here. So this one runs around the transcooler lines, and they should have spun this so it was usable. There we go. And again, another O2 sensor finished. And transmission bracket, everything's tightened down. So much done. Oh, it's not tight enough. I forgot I wanted it to float until I was done. So I think now I like where all the bolts are at. It looks like the witness marks are all in the exact same spot. So I'm just gonna get under here, tighten down every bolt, and start going. Let's go to town. Let's get some shock absorbers installed, get these uprights in, and the suspension's buttoned up. I mean, we could hang the wheels at this point. Let's get to it. We have one side back together already. Here is the passenger side strut and the upright and the brakes. So that was a lot of progress really quick, and now it's time to hook up all the wiring to our engine. And of course, as you guys know, it's very simple. I showed you guys this before. So we will just grab the entire harness, come down. All this has to feed through there. So we'll shove it all in this direction, I guess. And now we get one connector at a time. Start with the big one. Follow with the second one. And just like that, that is all of the wiring. How insane is that? Man, it's cool taking it apart the way we did. All right, so I think that goes right there. And now we have this cam lock here. So we have it unlocked. Go ahead and set it down here in the ECU. Just wiggle it into place. One's done, that's it. Now we just have to put the 10mm in this one, it looks like, and we're home free. Boys and girls, I'm tired. There's nothing left. This is it. We have it all done except for hooking up the supercharger. I think every one of these lines here goes to that. There's only one I'm concerned about, and it's the coolant overflow. I have no idea where that went. Every wire, every connector that's left goes to the supercharger. All the coolant lines are hooked up. Everything's hooked up. I just don't know where this line is, and I'm kind of worried about that one. I know it was sitting over here previously. This one's the Symposer, it's getting deleted. This engine had a block off plate for the Symposer, so we're getting rid of that, which I'm super excited about. No fake noises. And the AC system's put together. I could probably charge that right now, but we're not gonna mess with that. Unbelievable. Every bolt is back in. Except for the drive shaft and the exhaust. We'll have all that wrapped up with the quickness in the morning, along with the supercharger, I hope, because we have to rebuild that thing tomorrow. That's the main thing, and we can start this up. Accessory drives, all of it's on, belts are on, everything's on. This is that big sigh of relief at the end of the project, even though we don't know if it runs yet, so I'm just hoping over here. So all that's left tomorrow is putting this pile of parts back on. No big deal, it's probably only 40 bolts or something like that. Shouldn't take very long. And once that and the supercharger are on, we can drive it, which means we might be driving the car tomorrow. I gotta get some fluids, we gotta vac it down, fill the oil. That's it. The Jag is rebuilt, back together. As long as this engine works out, we're good to go. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjaguar.com for cool shirts, not like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. And I will talk to you next time. Well, last night, it was another late night. I just decided to stay here and finish up the entire car for the most part. So obviously, like I said before, we just have the supercharger left. I just picked up the parts for that. And if you look at the car, the entire exhaust system's back in, drive shaft, shields, all the suspension, it's all hooked up. we are down to the supercharger, a couple hoses on top, and once I put in the fender liners, plugging in the wheel speed sensors, and that's the whole thing. I know there were a bunch of comments after I tore down the R8 engine asking about tearing down the 3.0T. Well, here it is, and we are gonna shred this engine next. So you guys get to see what's inside a very popular power plant. This powers so many cars, it's unbelievable. And time to take that thing down next. It might be in your car. Let me know in the comments below.